Of provisions of this proceeding.
I call the Honourable Member Asenati-Lole Taylor.
Whaftai lava, Mr. Chair.
Malo suifua.
Mr. Chair, this bill, I'd like to talk about Part 1, Clause 5 first of this bill. Paula Bennett concedes and accepts that some parents do not need to enrol their children in early childhood education. That, although the provision in the new bill places emphasis on the need for beneficiaries to take all reasonable steps to ensure that their dependent child aged 3 years or over is enrolled in attending an early childcare or early childhood education until they start school, the Minister accepts that it may not be necessary for some. Right? Thank you. I'm glad that you're agreeing with me. So New Zealand First wants to know if there will be subsidies for ECE. We also need to know, will ECE providers be able to cope with the potential growth of enrolments? Reports suggest that 220,000 children whose parents received welfare, only 31,500 are 3 or 4 years old. Of this number, the Minister has said the test would only apply to, say, around about 20,000 to 25,000 children each year, and that the others we expect them to, but we won't be checking up to see if they have. So, Honourable Minister has made it clear that the benefit payments may be halved if they fail to do this. Then later has said that people who could not access early childhood education would not be sanctioned. Parents also have to enrol their children with GP to avoid sanctions. So implementing such a policy is problematic when the government does not have the means to monitor all these children. I think recently there's been a case of children hearing screening where they have been recalled because of the lack of checks gone into that. And it just shows that there was clear indication of lack of resources being put in place to manage those kind of situations. It may mean a double standard within the system where only some beneficiaries are followed up while others are not. And it is obvious that if the government does not have the resources, then the changes in this bill would not be cost-effective to administer. It is also evident that the government is a little unsure about the direction they want to take, because on one hand they want beneficiaries to comply with the rules, and on the other there seems to be loopholes where leniency may be granted on certain grounds. More importantly, the government is attempting to dictate to parents how to parent. This is the government's way of policing the way parents raise their children, and we do not think that that is necessary. How can the government take away people's freedom to choose or the choice when it comes to child rearing? Ms. Bennett, not every beneficiary is a bad parent, nor are they all drug users. I'm sure there's a lot of parents out there who are good parents. Some families may not have the means to put their children through ECE, or maybe some providers do not have the space to allow more children to enrol. I know, being a parent myself, when my children were young, even though there was availability of ECE, I felt more confident and very sure that my children were much better off with me than sending them to ECE. New Zealand First is not trying to downplay the importance of removing drugs from the workplace, especially in home where young children seem to live. I mean, that's the reason why I've introduced the bill in the House, to address the issues where children are exposed to criminal activities. What we want to see are some amendments to the proposed changes that will make it more practical if it is enforced into law. This bill will contribute to draining more families across the ditch. There are a variety of reasons as to why beneficiaries need state assistance. We believe that the state should be there in time of real need, and we also expect beneficiaries to try and gain paid employment once they are capable to do so. This government's direction with Social Security sends out a clear signal to the rest of the country about their perception of beneficiaries. The Minister will foster greater difficulty for beneficiaries to try to make a better life for their families. She is deliberately shrinking the dreams and hopes of families who are receiving state assistance. Mr. Chair?
I call the Honourable Member Asenati-Lole.
Thank you. She is deliberately shrinking the dreams and hopes of families who are receiving state assistance for the right reasons. The social obligations of this bill symbolises the dictating nature of this government. I now want to move on to Part 1, Clause 9, 11, 14 and 15. I'm going to try and see if I can fit them all in the 5 minutes. I wonder if anyone in the House remember these words spoken of. What I want for others, the feeling of being self-reliant in work and of saying to work and income, thanks, but I don't need a benefit anymore. I remember the Minister saying these words in her second reading speech on this Social Security bill. While a dreamer can visualise the impossible at times with his or her dreams, a visionary can make these dreams come true. And so I say to the Minister, does she know the difference between a dreamer and a visionary? Does she know? On the job front, neither dreamer or visionary is going to have any luck in this country. The government can try to fool us with the visage of good statistics and share light on success stories that are meant to tug at our heartstrings. There are few and far between. The reality is there is a lack of ears in the national government to what we have said over the past year in regards to job creation. When you rely on the economic might of Australia as an employment policy, you get the following results. A possible 1,500 jobs cuts for NZ ICT specialists. What's going to happen? They move to Australia. A budget freeze on our frontline police. What's going to happen? They move to Australia. We have restructures happening within government's department, forcing the expertise of many public servants to venture into overseas opportunities. They may as well take New Zealand's wildlife with them. We have skilled workers being pushed out of their jobs, accommodate, especially where the Department of Corrections actually needed to fit in some of their prisoners to the release to work schemes. What's going on here? An increase in the 50,000 plus annual exodus to Australia. A manufacturing sector under siege due to major government procurement projects going to firms manufacturing overseas. I sure hope that this will not happen with our insulation industry. Why is this government working with a failed monetary policy approach, costing thousands of jobs in the export and manufacturing sectors? We can't inflict these reforms under a new social policy when reality differs. While National can lip service the country on their version that the unemployment rate has gone down, this country's reality states that we have an increase in the amount of people going onto the benefit. We have. New Zealanders have given up looking for jobs in this country. There has been no reflection on the fact that skilled workers are moving across the ditch. They don't want to stay here and take on board unskilled work. Furthermore, our tertiary and higher education graduates aren't sticking around to pay off their loans. The starting out wage will see a fluctuation in job losses for older and experienced workers, while employers seek to pay less for the same productivity rate. Can I now also address Part 1, Clause 39, Section 88A of this bill? This is about work test obligations and drug testing. The bill before us today will attempt to make it compulsory for beneficiaries to undertake a drug test if they are considered to be at risk. Now, the government can sit there and play the pointing game and blame employers for wanting to drug test beneficiaries upon taking up a paid job, and we do support the idea of drug testing. But at the end of the day, responsibility needs to lie somewhere, And in this case, it belongs with Paula Bennett and her bill. New Zealand First considers drug testing to be important. We do recognise this. It is vital that employers feel comfortable to employ people who can be trusted to do the work. However, New Zealand First has concerns at how the government intends to roll this initiative out, particularly with the way it will be administered and the number of people involved. So, thank you, Mr.
I call the Honourable Member Holly Walker.